recording from Canada. We're in the Alberta, so kind of the close to the central part. Um, it's actually more, first of all, many happy returns, John.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you very much for this whole setup. Actually, me and my wife, we've been both following the get, excuse me, the gathering for quite a number of weeks now. But only we signed up probably a couple of weeks ago, but not until last week that we got the email with the link, so we can finally join.
Uh-huh.
So it's great.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you so much for talking about particularly the essence of the practice um, without the burdens of the labeling, um, and also not idealizing. And it's more my own reflections rather than a question, if that's okay.
Oh, totally, totally.
Uh,
Welcome that.
Particularly, one of the reasons that actually encouraged my own personal engagement in terms of actually dialing in and connecting is the fact that we witnessed and we listened and we heard a lot of really heartfelt um, comments and people sharing their own stories. And from that perspective, we really felt the profound effect of not just the practice, but also what we're going through collectively, globally at the moment. Um, the really real sense of suffering that people are going through, particularly, um, I remember personally a fellow called from the state, from the UK, and he was talking about how he has 3 kids and he's out of jobs now, and how the practice actually grounded him in a place where he's not taken away by the storms. Also, there are other moments. For example, I remember a girl from Brazil actually talked about the innocence of violence in some way, and also in the outside world. Um, and that to me also, it's one of the profound effects that we're feeling right now with all the stuff that's happening. It's that that paradox of how to ground, because I think a lot of people can easily think, and they really do feel that way, that the practice is sort of like a withdrawal from the rest of the world, and also to dwell in a place. So it turns into a sort of bipolar sort of um, way of seeing that stillness is the oppositional force of activism, or
Yeah.
acting in the world in a way that's beneficial. Of course, we all know that that's not true, but also I think when the turmoil is so big, it's so easy to start to lose the bigger picture in terms of how the practice can actually influence not just our own heart, but how is it gonna. So, and that's why I really appreciate the fact that you also mentioned how one element in a bigger structure can actually influence the whole, and also how you mentioned the enlightening moment instead of turning it into a quote unquote eternal state. I remember one of the Zen sayings in the Chinese Chan tradition. It says that it uses an analogy that, for example, a cave could have been in darkness for thousands or eons or thousands of years, but as soon as you bring
One
a
candle.
match in there, one instant. It doesn't take thousands of years to undo it. But also what's interesting about that is how to keep that fire going and how to keep that light going rather than thinking that once it's lit up, then we see everything and that's it. Um, because the saying goes that you can dwell in darkness or unawareness for thousands of years or even lifetimes, but awareness takes a moment. But but that also is a paradox because we are all enlightened or aware for moments in our lives, but not for very long times in any stretch. So that's the kind of the paradox and
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 that's where the practice comes in, the practice of non-doing, because you're not actually trying to keep anything going
yeah,
or stretch anything out, including light or enlightenment. It's that your essential nature is wakefulness beyond this and that, beyond any kind of dualism. And that's easy to say, but the recognition of it in a non-conceptual way and then to live that way, it's not an ideal, as you say. I mean, it really isn't an ideal. It's a it's a way with a capital W, a Tao in Chinese, that has its own dharma. It has its own lawfulness.
yeah.
And when we're in alignment with it, um, that's true practice. And it doesn't look like anything.
No, and I truly appreciate the fact that you keep emphasizing or you keep referring back to the fact that even though um, we can refer it back to calling it mindfulness or whatever you want to call it, but it's not so much about the label or the doorway that we because I feel it deeply that when we do that too much, it starts to become again a
A
thing.
thing. Exactly.
Yeah, and also easily once you have a thing, then you also start to categorize things that don't belong to that thing or don't or not within that thing, because we hear a bit of that in different comments and especially in a time like this, we also feel that because I kind of touched on one of the comments that we heard was about violence and with the way things are going now, there are various kinds of violence even within I think the ultimate form that we're feeling right now is the sense of separation, even within the movement itself. Um, I always like to say that it's like the nesting dolls.
Yep.
Our way of separating is infinite, so the nesting doll can go
Yeah.
infinitely smaller, even
Yeah.
within ourselves. That we have a portion fighting against the other portion or not liking. So
Well,
anyway,
thank you for this.
I really don't want to take up too much of your time, but I really truly appreciate the engagement and hope that we can speak further at some
Thank you
point.
for this.
Thank you.
Any other
Be well, Keith. I really appreciate your comments.
Thank you.